Most men will spend their entire lives never understanding what truly ignites a woman's desire, and it has nothing to do with being nice, available, or saying all the right things. In fact, everything you've been taught about attraction is fundamentally backwards. The men who effortlessly captivate women aren't playing by the rules society handed you. They've cracked a code that operates beneath conscious awareness, 7 primal needs that, once you master them, will transform how women respond to you forever. Stay until the end, because the 7th need is the one that makes you genuinely unforgettable. She doesn't want your admiration from across the room. She doesn't want poetry without passion, or compliments that feel like rehearsed lines from a greeting card. What she craves, what every woman craves at her core, is to feel like you physically cannot resist her, like something primal inside you awakens the moment she walks into the room. Most men get this completely wrong. They worship from a distance, treating her like some fragile goddess who might shatter if touched. They say, "I love you," with the enthusiasm of reading a grocery list, hoping their words alone will be enough. But words without fire behind them are just noise. Love without raw, unfiltered desire is nothing more than emotional friendship, and she already has plenty of friends. Think about the difference between a man who glances at her nervously and looks away versus a man whose eyes move over her slowly, unapologetically, like he's memorizing every detail. When she catches him looking, he doesn't flinch or pretend he wasn't. He holds that gaze. He smirks. He lets her feel the weight of his attention without saying a single word. This isn't about being inappropriate or making her uncomfortable. It's about presence. It's about letting your body language communicate what words never could, that you see her, you want her, and you're not ashamed of that fact. When you're walking together, your hand finds the small of her back, not hesitantly hovering, but placed there with quiet confidence. When you speak to her, you pull her slightly closer, lowering your voice so she has to lean in. And every now and then, you stop whatever you're doing, look directly into her eyes and say something like, "You have absolutely no idea what you do to me." Now, here's the crucial distinction that separates magnetic men from desperate ones. Desire expressed from strength feels completely different than desire expressed from neediness. When a confident, self-assured man shows his attraction, it feels like a gift. She's being chosen by someone who has options, someone who doesn't need her validation to feel complete. That's intoxicating. But when a needy man expresses the same desire, it feels like a burden. It carries an unspoken expectation. Please want me back. Please make me feel worthy. Women sense this instantly, and it repels them faster than anything else. So the question isn't whether you desire her. The question is where that desire originates from. Does it come from your own grounded sense of self, or from a desperate hope that she'll fill some void inside you? One approach makes you irresistible. The other makes you invisible. She stopped texting back. The conversations dried up, and you're sitting there wondering what went wrong. You were consistent, reliable, always there. That's exactly the problem. The human brain is wired to filter out repetitive patterns. It's a survival mechanism. When something becomes predictable, it fades into background noise. Your morning alarm, the hum of traffic outside, the feel of your clothes against your skin, you stop noticing them because they never change. And when you become that predictable to a woman, the same thing happens. You become invisible. Think about the last time you felt truly alive. It wasn't in routine. It was when something unexpected happened, a surprise, a sudden change, a moment that broke the pattern. That's when your brain lit up. That's when you felt something. Women experience this identically. The man who follows the same script every single day becomes emotionally flat to her. Safe, yes. Comfortable, perhaps, but exciting? Never. Now, here's where most men get it completely wrong. They hear be unpredictable and think it means playing games or being inconsistent with their feelings. That's manipulation, and it backfires every time. True unpredictability comes from depth, from being a man with so many dimensions that she can never fully figure you out. One evening, you're deeply philosophical, discussing ideas that stretch her mind. The next, you're playful, teasing her until she's laughing so hard she can barely breathe. Sometimes, you're intensely focused on your work, unavailable not because you're creating false scarcity, but because your purpose genuinely demands your attention. Other times, you're fully present, giving her your complete awareness like she's the only person in the world. This isn't about following a formula. It's about living a life rich enough that you naturally show different facets depending on the moment. The man who has passions, ambitions, friendships, and inner worlds to explore will never run out of ways to surprise her. The man whose entire existence revolves around the relationship has already shown her everything he has. Stop asking permission for every decision. Make spontaneous choices. Change plans unexpectedly, not to confuse her, but because something genuinely sparked your interest. Let her wonder occasionally what you're thinking instead of laying every thought bare the moment it crosses your mind. Mystery isn't about hiding who you are. It's about revealing yourself gradually, letting her discover new layers over time instead of dumping everything at her feet in the first month. When she realizes she'll never completely solve the puzzle of who you are, something shifts in her. Curiosity transforms into fascination, and fascination is the fertile ground where deep attraction takes root and refuses to let go. The moment you stop having your own opinions is the moment she stops seeing you as a man worth keeping. Think about it. Every time you nod along to something you don't actually believe, every time you swallow your words just to avoid friction, you're not being kind, you're being forgettable. And deep down, she feels it. She might not say it out loud, but something inside her starts to pull away, searching for someone who actually stands for something. Here's what most men get wrong. They think agreement equals connection. They believe that if they just go along with everything she says, she'll feel closer to them. But attraction doesn't work that way. When you agree with everything, you disappear. You become a mirror reflecting only what she already thinks, and nobody falls in love with their own echo. Women are drawn to men who challenge them, not with hostility, not with arrogance, but with quiet, grounded confidence. When she says something and you genuinely see it differently, say so. Keep your voice calm, keep your energy steady. Simply tell her, I see that completely differently. No drama, no defensiveness, just honest disagreement from a man who knows his own mind. Now, this doesn't mean you argue over every little thing or turn conversations into debates. That's exhausting, and it's not the point. The point is that you have a spine, you have values, you have thoughts that belong to you, not thoughts borrowed from whoever happens to be in front of you. And when you express those thoughts without needing her approval, something shifts in how she perceives you. Suddenly, you're not just another agreeable face. You're someone she has to earn, someone whose respect actually means something. The deeper truth is when you always agree, you're unconsciously telling her that her opinion matters more than yours. You're placing her above you. And while that might sound romantic, it kills polarity. She wants to feel like she's with an equal, or better yet, someone slightly beyond her reach. A man who can hold his ground, who doesn't crumble the moment she pushes back, who stays rooted in who he is, even when she tests him. And she will test you. Every woman does. Not out of cruelty, but because she needs to know if you're real. She needs to see if you'll fold under pressure, or if you'll remain solid. The men who fold get forgotten. The men who stay grounded become magnetic. So stop nodding your way through conversations. Stop agreeing just to keep the peace. Speak your truth calmly and without apology, and watch how differently she begins to look at you. Every forgettable conversation you've ever had shares one thing in common. Nothing was left unsaid, nothing lingered in the air, nothing made her wonder. You filled every silence, answered every question immediately, and left zero room for imagination. And that's precisely why she forgot you the moment you walked away. Tension is the invisible thread that pulls two people closer without a single word being spoken. It's not about what you say, it's about what you almost say. It's the pause before you respond, the look that lasts half a second longer than expected, the space between your body and hers that feels charged with electricity. This is what separates men who spark desire from men who spark nothing at all. When she speaks, don't rush to fill the gap. Let her words hang in the air for a moment. Look at her, not through her, not past her, directly into her eyes, as if you're seeing something no one else has noticed. This simple shift changes everything. She begins to wonder what you're thinking, what you're feeling, whether you're about to say something or do something unexpected. That wondering is the beginning of attraction. Physical proximity matters more than most men realize. Stand close enough that she can feel your presence without you touching her. Let your arm brush against hers as you walk. When guiding her through a doorway, place your hand briefly on the small of her back. These aren't accidents, they're deliberate signals that create an undercurrent of anticipation. Nothing rushed, nothing forced, everything intentional. Lower your voice in intimate moments. Speak slower than feels natural. Use silence as a tool, not something to escape from. When she says something provocative or revealing, resist the urge to respond immediately. Just hold her gaze. Let a slight smirk appear. Watch how she shifts, how her breathing changes, how she suddenly becomes hyper-aware of your presence. Most men treat conversation like a tennis match, rapid exchanges back and forth until someone runs out of things to say. But desire doesn't build through efficiency. It builds through friction, through anticipation, through the unspoken energy that vibrates between two people who haven't yet fully revealed themselves to each other. This is what keeps her thinking about you hours after you've parted ways. Not your clever jokes or impressive stories, but the way you made her feel without ever explaining why. The moments where something almost happened, the words you held back, the touch that lasted just long enough to leave her wanting more. Master this, and you'll understand why some men become unforgettable, while others simply become background noise. The moment you become completely available, you become completely forgettable. There's a painful irony most men never recognize. The harder you try to hold on to her, the faster she slips away. You cancel plans with friends to see her. You respond to every text within seconds. You rearrange your entire schedule around her whims. And you believe this devotion will make her love you more. But something strange happens instead. Her attraction fades. Her responses become shorter. That spark in her eyes dims. Why? Because desperation is the most powerful repellent in human psychology. When you abandon your own life for a woman, you're not showing her love. You're showing her that you have nothing else worth living for. And that revelation terrifies her on a primal level. She doesn't want to be your entire world. She wants to be part of a world that's already rich, purposeful, and complete. A man with ambition, passions, and his own circle of people is magnetic, not because he's playing hard to get, but because his life genuinely doesn't depend on her presence. Think about this carefully. When you're fully self-sufficient, when she senses that you would continue thriving with or without her, something ancient awakens in her mind, the fear of losing you. And that fear, handled correctly, becomes fuel for desire. It's not manipulation, it's reality. She needs to know that you chose her, not that you desperately needed her because you had no other options.
So what does this look like in practice? You keep pursuing your goals relentlessly. You maintain friendships that existed before her and will exist regardless of her. You don't drop everything the moment she calls. Sometimes you're genuinely unavailable, not as a tactic, but because your life has substance beyond her. You have hobbies that consume your attention, projects that excite you, ambitions that pull you forward. When she sees this, something shifts. Suddenly, you're not the safe, predictable backup plan. You're a man with direction, and she's lucky to be walking beside you. The relationship transforms from her tolerating your presence to her actively wanting to keep you close. Needy men are disposable because they communicate through their actions that they have nothing else. Independent men are irresistible because they communicate that their affection is a choice, not a necessity. She doesn't want a man who clings to her like she's his only source of oxygen. She wants a man who breathes fully on his own and still chooses to share his air with her.
Your independence isn't coldness. It's the foundation upon which genuine attraction is built. She doesn't want another decision to make. She's exhausted from running her own life, managing her own chaos, solving her own problems. And when she looks at you, she's silently asking one question: can I finally rest? Can I trust this man to take the wheel? Most men don't understand this. They think being considerate means asking permission for everything. Where you want to eat? What do you want to do tonight? What movie should we watch? And they believe this constant consultation makes them thoughtful partners. It doesn't. It makes them exhausting. Every question you ask is another burden you're placing on her shoulders, another choice she has to carry. And slowly, without realizing it, you've turned yourself into a man she has to manage rather than a man she can lean into. The truth about leadership isn't about dominance or control. It's about presence. It's about being the calm in the storm. When problems arise, you don't panic. When decisions need to be made, you make them. Not aggressively, not arrogantly, smoothly, like it's the most natural thing in the world. Picture this. You're walking into a crowded restaurant. Instead of standing awkwardly at the entrance waiting for direction, you gently place your hand on the small of her back and guide her through the room. You spot a table, you lead her there, you pull out her chair. No hesitation, no checking if that's okay. You simply moved and she followed. That's not about being controlling, it's about removing friction from her experience. It's about creating a space where she doesn't have to think, where she can simply exist in your energy and feel safe. This is what polarity means. The masculine leads, the feminine flows. When you step into that role with confidence, something shifts inside her. The tension she carries in her shoulders begins to soften. The constant mental chatter quiets down. She stops analyzing and starts feeling. And in that feeling state, attraction deepens in ways that logic can never create. Insecure men create anxiety in women because their energy is scattered, uncertain, reactive. Every situation becomes a negotiation. Every moment carries the weight of indecision. But when a man is grounded, when he knows where he's going and moves toward it without seeking validation, she can finally exhale. This doesn't mean you ignore her preferences or dismiss her input. Listen when it matters, adjust when it makes sense, but stop outsourcing every decision to her and expecting her to find that attractive. She wants a partner, not a project. She wants to be with you, not raise you. Step into your role and watch how differently she responds. The compliment you give her tonight could be the very thing that destroys her attraction to you. Sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? But here's what nobody tells you. When your praise flows endlessly, it becomes invisible. She stops hearing it. Worse, she starts questioning your judgment altogether. Think about this carefully. When someone praises everything you do without discrimination, what happens inside you? You begin doubting their sincerity. You wonder if they're simply telling you what you want to hear. And slowly, their words carry no weight at all. They become background noise, pleasant perhaps, but utterly meaningless. This is precisely what happens when you shower a woman with constant validation.
Every photo she posts receives your immediate approval. Every opinion she shares gets enthusiastic agreement. Every outfit, every decision, every small action earns your admiration. And with each compliment, you're unknowingly eroding the very foundation of her respect for you. Here's the psychological truth operating beneath the surface. Human beings are wired to value scarcity. What comes easily holds little worth in our minds, but what we must earn, what we receive rarely, that becomes precious. This applies to diamonds, to opportunities, and yes, to approval from someone whose opinion we respect. The men who understand this principle behave very differently. They observe, they notice, but they don't react to everything they see. When she does something ordinary, they don't manufacture excitement. They save their genuine admiration for moments that truly deserve it. When she demonstrates real intelligence, when she shows genuine kindness, when she reveals strength of character. And when that validation finally comes, it lands differently. It resonates. She feels it in her bones because she knows it wasn't given lightly. She knows it was earned.
Now, this doesn't mean becoming cold or withholding affection as some manipulation tactic. That misses the point entirely. This is about authenticity. It's about having standards that mean something. When you praise everything, you effectively praise nothing. But when your approval carries weight, when she knows you don't impress easily, suddenly earning your admiration becomes something she genuinely desires. Watch what happens when you shift this dynamic. She'll begin seeking your opinion more. She'll pay attention to your reactions. Your words will carry power they never had before because they now represent something real rather than reflexive flattery. The desperate man validates constantly, hoping his praise will purchase her affection. The grounded man validates truthfully, and his approval becomes something she treasures. One approach pushes her away gradually, the other draws her closer magnetically. Scarcity creates desire, and when your approval becomes rare, it becomes the very thing she finds herself craving. Everything you've absorbed today points to one undeniable truth. Attraction operates on principles most men never discover. While others stumble through relationships wondering why their efforts go unrewarded, you now possess knowledge that fundamentally changes the game. But here's what separates information from transformation. Knowing these principles means nothing if they remain trapped in your mind as mere concepts. The man who reads about confidence but never embodies it stays exactly where he started. The man who understands these dynamics but refuses to apply them watches the same patterns repeat endlessly in his life. You stand at a crossroads right now. One path leads back to everything familiar: the constant texting, the endless availability, the approval-seeking behaviors that have delivered the same disappointing results. That path feels comfortable because it's known, but comfort and growth rarely share the same address. The other path demands something of you. It requires you to trust what you've learned here today, even when old habits pull at you. It asks you to become a man with genuine purpose, real standards, and unshakable self-respect. Not as a performance designed to attract women, but as an authentic expression of who you're capable of becoming. When you embody these principles from a place of genuine strength rather than calculated strategy, something remarkable unfolds. You stop chasing validation from others because you've learned to validate yourself. You stop being endlessly available because your life brims with meaning and direction. You stop agreeing with everything because your opinions actually matter to you. And women, they sense this shift immediately. They feel the difference between a man performing confidence and a man who genuinely possesses it. They recognize the energy of someone who would be perfectly content walking alone versus someone desperate for companionship at any cost. This isn't about manipulation or becoming someone you're not. This is about stripping away the conditioning that made you believe your worth depends on her approval. Your worth was never negotiable. The moment you truly understand that, everything changes. Now, go become the man you were always meant to be.